What's the dumbest thing your teacher has ever done? Our substitute teacher spent an entire day teaching us that Alaska wasn't part of the United States because it's not attached to the mainland. We walked into social studies and immediately knew something was weird. Mrs. Patterson, our regular teacher, was out sick, and this substitute, Mr. Garcia, was standing at the front of the room looking way too confident for someone who clearly had no idea what he was doing. He starts the lesson by pulling down the map of North America and pointing dramatically at Alaska. Now, class, can anyone tell me which country this belongs to? Everyone's hands shot up because obviously it's Alaska. It's part of the US. We learned this in like 3rd grade, but Mr. Garcia had other plans. Sarah raises her hand. That's Alaska, and it's one of the 50 states. Mr. Garcia shakes his head with this condescending smile. That's a common misconception. Alaska is actually an independent territory, like Puerto Rico. The whole class starts looking around confused. Jake, who sits behind me, whispers, "Is this guy serious?" But Mr. Garcia keeps going, pulling out a marker and drawing arrows all over the map. See how Alaska is separated from the United States by Canada? That means it's not really part of our country. It's just associated with us. He was so confident, like he was revealing some massive conspiracy the education system had been hiding from us. Emma raises her hand tentatively. But sir, Alaska became the 49th state in 1959. My grandpa was born there, and he's definitely American. Mr. Garcia waves her off. Your grandfather might have American citizenship, but that doesn't make Alaska part of the United States proper. At this point, I'm thinking this has to be some kind of test. Like maybe Mrs. Patterson told him to see if we'd stand up for what we know is true. So I raise my hand and say, Mr. Garcia, Alaska has been a U.S. state for over 60 years. It has 2 senators and 1 representative in Congress. He actually laughed at me. Son, just because something is on a map doesn't make it geographically accurate. Think logically. How can something be part of America if you have to go through another country to get there? That's when Marcus, the class clown, says, so by that logic, Hawaii isn't part of the U.S. either because it's surrounded by water? Mr. Garcia pauses for a second, then goes, exactly, you're starting to understand. The entire class erupted. Kids were pulling out their phones, Googling basic facts about U.S. states. Someone was reading the Pledge of Allegiance out loud, emphasizing the 50 states part. Another student was showing pictures of Alaskan license plates that clearly say, Alaska, USA. But Mr. Garcia just kept doubling down. He spent the next 30 minutes drawing increasingly complicated diagrams about geographic sovereignty and continental boundaries. He even suggested that Texas wasn't really part of the U.S. either, because it used to be its own country. Finally, our principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, walked in to check on the substitute. She heard him explaining why non-contiguous territories can't be considered true states, and her face went through about 5 different expressions in 2 seconds. Mr. Garcia, she said slowly, could I speak with you in the hallway? They stepped outside, and through the door window, we could see her gesticulating wildly, while he kept pointing back at the map like it supported his argument. When they came back in, Mr. Garcia looked deflated. Mrs. Rodriguez addressed the class directly. Students, I want to clarify that Alaska and Hawaii are both fully recognized states of the United States, as they have been for decades. Mr. Garcia mumbled something about teaching critical thinking skills and questioning assumptions, but nobody was buying it. Mrs. Rodriguez quietly collected his things and escorted him out. For the rest of the period, we had a free study hall while Mrs. Rodriguez called Mrs. Patterson to explain why they needed to find a new substitute for the rest of the week. The best part? The next day, Mrs. Patterson came back and started class by saying, I heard we had an interesting geography lesson yesterday. Let's review the actual 50 states, shall we? She made us recite all 50 states in alphabetical order, with special emphasis on Alaska and Hawaii. We found out later that Mr. Garcia had been substituting at schools around the district, spreading his unique brand of geographical confusion wherever he went. Apparently, he'd also tried to convince a math class that negative numbers were just a theory, and told a science class that gravity was stronger on weekends. The district quietly removed him from their substitute list after our principal's report. Sometimes the dumbest thing isn't what students don't know, it's what teachers think they know but absolutely don't.